Hello, welcome to the Trade Game channel. This is Daniel. It's January the 17th, and we're going to talk about trading cryptocurrencies. So specifically, we're going to talk about our bots and how they are doing, and a couple of our proposed setups. We're also just going to sort of do a little bit of a market update in general on the cryptocurrency market. Just for fun, basically. All right. So, Bitcoin has pumped following the election last year, has done price explorations, got set a new high, all-time high around 108, and while we've had a good rally this last week in Bitcoin, a rather good rally, in fact. We may potentially see actually a bearish move in the market following the inaugurations, a big news event in the U.S. Coming up here, we're going to have the inauguration of Donald Trump, first openly pro-cryptocurrency president, also just pro-market president in general in the U.S. So I've marked on the calendar or on the chart here when that's going to be happening with a white line. We have these value gaps that have sort of been touched a couple of times by Bitcoin recently from the post-election move upwards. But we haven't, and you sort of can say that we might have satisfied this top one, but we haven't satisfied the bottom one. And the market, remember, likes to revisit these price levels. Now, it might never get down to this. We've been finding a lot of support for Bitcoin at like $89,000, $88,000. So it might never actually go down and revisit them. Or we may not revisit them any more than it already has. It's going to be kind of hard to tell. But in any event, so we were kind of we were thinking sort of a formation like this. We'd kind of a wedge or a flag going, however you want to view it, on the daily chart, and we seem to have broken out of this with Bitcoin. A lot of times in the market, it seems to me, what will kind of happen is when there's a big news event coming up, the market will kind of price in anticipation of that news event, and then and then sort of things will correct downwards afterwards. So we've had a really big rally in the lead up to in the lead up to this event. People getting really excited, and there are a lot of people calling longs and stuff like that. Someone's talking about an Ethereum long. I was just looking at earlier today, but at least for the time being, though, we kind of set another local high at like 105, right? And if you take that as the new high, which it might be, then that would kind of suggest that we have more of a flag pattern going on here than a wedge, because we had kind of a big bull flag pattern here, and we may be doing something kind of similar here, and we just need to break out of it on the daily. So you could have, we were kind of talking about this possibly being a wedge formation here, but given that it's established a high here and then it's coming back down, from a TA standpoint, this might be more. It might be more appropriate to call this more of a flag um, pattern. But this is all sort of relative. But because you could also say that we had a wedge pattern and then it just broke out to the upside. I mean, just depends on how you want to look at it, really. And so, what I'm planning currently is I think that we've had a great rally. We reached a low here and was probably talking about it then. Um, as you can see, I was looking at it on the smaller time frames and marking things out. Um, I expect we're likely due for another swing down at some point. Now, that doesn't mean that I mean, we might rally and do price exploration up to a higher level, around 120,000 or something here soon. That's also entirely possible. Um, but we'll kind of have to see. And so, on some level, I'm sort of waiting to see what the market might do around this news event before really doing anything super huge um, in terms of our bots that we have going. Because often, at least historically, around presidential inaugurations, the market, the crypto market, has not has kind of dipped following it. Um, But so if you can view this as being a breakout from a wedge, if you want to look at it that way. You can also view this as possibly the market starting to form just another sort of regular bull flag. Um, so what I'm saying is that I would be expecting some bearish movement over the next couple of days here. Um, but and things often do go bearish right after a big news event in the market. So, make of that what you will. We'll kind of see. I'm not like the time to open longs would be down here if you were really trying to jump in. But also, um, if we do go back down for another swing after this inauguration, after this next news event on the 20th here of January, um, we may go down and retest this area. We may go down into our value gaps here that I've marked out. And the market does tend to like to fill in these inefficiencies, these areas where it didn't have a chance to do price exploration when we push through it. And so, as much as we like to see, I mean, we generally, and I think everybody likes to see strength in the market in Bitcoin, and this does show strength. I mean, Bitcoin coming down and trying to test and testing its support levels here, trying to go down into these, being pulled down into these value gaps. And finding tremendous amounts of support here is very encouraging overall for the market. But I would be looking to see if we're just going to trade and assume as the market is trading in this pattern until it breaks out, which may be doing now, but it also may go down. Um, it's sort of depending on what happens. I would be looking, and when really the reason that I didn't sort of um, pop open some new bots down here is that I kind of had a funny feeling, and I don't know if I may be proven wrong, that these gaps are just kind of sitting here unexplored, and I feel like we may be due for a little more. A little bit more of a drawdown before we ultimately go up. Although I could be completely wrong. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of the U.S. government and what the new executive administration's decisions are going to be financially. Um, but at least for right now, we seem to be rallying, and then we're going to do a downwards correction today. Where we went up really and set a peak yesterday, and now we're going back down. on the hourly. It looks like Bitcoin, yep, we had a big rally, and now we're correcting downwards. Um, that's not surprising to me, really at all. Uh, but I also do think the market sort of will price in news events as they happen. The inauguration, I believe, is supposed to be noon on the 20th, so that's where I have it marked here. Um, so we have had a pump in Bitcoin, which is great overall. Um, it hasn't like broken the all-time high that it set uh, post the election, though. So it's still in its consolidation ranging pattern, which is kind of where I personally would like it to be right now. I would prefer it to Bitcoin to correct down um, and find support again in like the high 80s or 90s, so that we can start a couple more of these bots, these long bots, when the market is down and people are feeling the pain, um, so that we can have room to go up. You sort of have to have these holding patterns where people are doing the day to day trading and things are happening in order for markets to consolidate before making a move. Uh, and I don't want my bots to get washed out or um, liquidated out. I'm trying to not start them too high in one of these patterns. Now, uh, right. No. So anyway, so yeah. So I would expect bearish movement from Bitcoin and the market over the next couple of days. But we have had a pretty significant rally, and the thing to is, as I said, the market does sometimes sort of price in um, news events before they happen. We are, of course, going into the weekend now, though, and the inauguration is on Monday. So things may kind of just hold over the weekend. A lot of times, not tremendous amount happens, or we may come up and try to retest this high of like 105 or 106,000 again a little bit. But it wouldn't surprise me terribly if we swing back down after the inauguration event happens, because it's not terrible. I mean, I can't. I'm sure there will be announcements and things will be happening around that time. But um, I think the bigger financial news from the oncoming administration will probably come a little bit later after the inauguration, and so people are getting real excited. Market is going up, and most likely, most likely Donald Trump is not going to like stop the inauguration to just talk about Bitcoin for 20 minutes or something. Although you never know really with this guy what he's going to do. He might, but in all likelihood, it's probably not gonna. We're probably not going to get mentioned. Um, the crypto work is probably not really going to get brought up or mentioned a whole lot around the inauguration. Maybe um, it may be talked about a bit in the days following, but we'll kind of see. Um, we'll kind of see what happens. Um, I mean, it's also entirely possible that everything that we might pump afterward, just because we have kind of a historic pro cryptocurrency American president, which is a new thing. Anyway, let's go real quick over what's been happening here. So, just to kind of give you guys, I'm trying to show you guys these things that are still in process. To give you an idea of what I'm doing, what's going on, and yeah. Well, anyway, so my Solana bot is doing just fine. This is a 5 times bot that broke out of its wedge, kind of came down for a retest we had this last low, and is now rallying along with Bitcoin. Not really surprising to me. Um, I have not decided if I've been thinking about closing this one and reopening it with different settings, just because its trading grid only goes down to $210, and it kind of looks like we may be in a ranging sort of holding pattern. Um, um, for a little bit, kind of a little bit further down. So I set the grid for this bot a little bit higher than perhaps I should have, maybe. So I've been sort of contemplating closing it, especially since it's not in profit currently. It's at about 1.8% loss. Um, but it's pretty close to break even, and so I could, without losing a whole lot of money, sort of just break even right now and then restart it with different settings. But we'll kind of have to see, and I don't necessarily. The trouble with cutting these bots off and remaking them when they've been in loss like this is that it's just right at about break even now, and it wouldn't make a tremendous. It's a little interesting to. Uh, well, I don't know. You could argue that it's not the best idea to to start a new long bot after a big pump like this. Although you could also say, I mean, we've broken this descending trend of lower highs here, and so this may just be the beginning of a bigger push upwards. But I don't know. I would expect Solana to correct down a little bit. Um, and we may see, and over the weekend, if this pushes up a little bit higher, the value of Solana pushes up a little bit higher, and the bot goes into profit, I may just close it, take some profit, and restart it with a grid that goes a little bit lower down. I also have been, with these bots, been speculating lately that they may perform better than I was previously thinking with tighter grids. Um, with spot grids on cryptocurrencies, a lot of times you'll have the grid lines set so that it's like 5%, 8%, 3% profit in between each grid line. Um, but the trading fees are much higher in spot, and in and also, yeah, well, the trading fees are much higher in spot, and so because in spot, the exchanges make all their money from the trading fees. They don't charge interest on the open positions, whereas in futures trading, the fees are much lower for each individual transaction. But then you also have to pay interest on the positions you have open, and so the exchange makes money both ways. As a result, it's sort of there's less of a disincentive to have the bot trading more frequently. So I have a suspicion that these bots are going to actually work better with tighter grids with smaller profits, percentage profits in between each grid line, because they're not having to pay as much to make those really small trades. We are instead paying interest uh, on the open positions, and that's where the cost of holding these positions comes in, and that's where the exchange is making its money off of this activity, not so much each individual trading fee. And so, if we want these to perform better for us, I'm starting to suspect that with the futures bots specifically, we need to be setting tighter grids um, than with the spot bots. And the eighth bot that we'll look at here in a minute. So I've talked about this one. Uh, oh well, here. How about I just give a search here? Bot. Um, that I plan on having running for me for quite some time here. That's a higher leverage bot that was sort of a successful long trade, essentially, that I had started here. Um, that traded and has managed to take enough profit through the action of its great arbitrage that it can secure itself against liquidation practically down to $0. So unless ApeCoin essentially just completely fails as a currency, which is not terribly likely, this bot should be able to continue to trade as long as it stays in this zone for quite some time. Um, until or unless it goes back up above the grid as it did here, in which case this will just become a long position. But as ApeCoin is more of an AI gaming sort of coin, um, I don't expect it to pump super hard for a little while. So I'm planning on keeping this guy and letting it trade for me with the like 25 or so times leverage that it has for some time. ApeCoin, in terms of its TA, is also pumping just like everybody else. It doesn't seem to have broken out of this sort of wedge that it's forming, though. As I was just saying, I don't necessarily expect a tremendous amount of strength from these gaming and AI coins necessarily right away. It's probably the boomer coins, the sort of older, uh, higher market cap ones. They're going to do well for a little while. As things shake out further down in the bull market, the general expectation among people in the market seems to be that we're likely to see a boom in AI coins, just like we've sort of been seeing in the stock market, because that's the new hotness right now over there. But then later, the play may turn out to be gaming coins. We're going to see uh, hopefully some collaborations between big gaming studios who have a lot of resources and cryptocurrency projects, and we'll start seeing them making actually, hopefully, for goodness sake, actual good video games that use cryptocurrency as their currency rather than just sort of a non-valued currency in the video game, and so people can play these games and actually earn real currency, cryptocurrency in the game, and then we'll have marketing revenue and stuff coming from these games that will probably be free to play, like Fortnite and like some of these others that have been popular over the last 10 years or so. But that's something that may be coming down the tubes much later on than now. Um, so my point is, though, the grids on this one, which has done rather well and done a really good job creating profits through its arbitrage in order to secure itself against liquidation. This one has a really tight grid of like 0.3% or 0.4% profit per grid line, whereas some of these other ones have more like a 1% or 2% profit per grid line, which is the default settings, I believe, with the exchange are kind of have profit per grid line of around like 0.7% to like 0.13% or 1.3% or something, which is kind of the sort of general range that I've been putting a lot of these bots at. Um, but I'm beginning to wonder if perhaps having a large number of grid lines isn't going to having a denser grid isn't going to ultimately be better for us. We'll have to kind of see though. So we talked about Bitcoin, talked about Solana a little bit, XRP. I've been talking about XRP. We've been talking about XRP. Everybody's been expecting good things from XRP, and it's delivering so far. We've broken out of our wedge pattern. Not able to zoom in the usual way right now with my touch screen. That's a little funny, but in any event, we've broken out of our wedge pattern. We had to retest the other day, and it pumped nicely. I would expect a correction to the downside now. So far as we're concerned with our bot and our sort of trading setup, uh, we're doing really well. Um, our grid goes up to $6 and goes down to $1.83. So XRP has set a new all-time high and is starting to do some price exploration up in the area where we are grid trading it, and so this is excellent for us. This is what we want to see. You've got a 5 times bot going on it, and also an 8 times bot. 5 times bot's liquidation zone is down here. The 8 times bot, 8 times leveraged bot is this red line right here. Hopefully it'll start moving down here at some point. I haven't updated it since the last video, but I'm also not terribly concerned about it hitting liquidation quite yet. This is probably going to correct down somewhat, but the bot will be taking profit as it corrects down, and so hopefully that will add to the margin on the bot and push this liquidation value down a bit for XRP. So we'll have to see kind of how that goes. But great news for us on XRP. Good going there. Ethereum, I've seen some people calling longs on Ethereum. We've had an upwards bullish movement in price leading up to this news event, and some people were kind of saying like, "Ooh, maybe it's almost sort of like a buy high kind of a situation where buy high, sell higher," which is to say buy into strength, kind of a thing. So we have started this local upwards trend with Ethereum, and so this is a show of strength. I am concerned though that as the market may correct downwards, this excitement may be sort of anticipation of this coming news event, and depending on what happens on Monday, we may correct downwards afterwards, and this may all sort of peter out and just sort of be part of this kind of downwards channel that we've been in, because it is still, while we have had a pump recently and came up and touched into this value gap that we had marked out before. I think I marked this out on the 4-hour time frame. You could probably extend it down a little bit lower if you wanted to. On the let's see, if I remake it using the daily chart, then I would need to move it down to here to the top of that wick and move this guy to here to that wick. And so that being the case, we would have satisfied this value gap pretty well already. That being the case, the market's had a chance to do its price exploration kind of up into this area, and may lose its upwards momentum, especially as this news event, people get excited leading up to these things, and then often things kind of go down afterwards as people focus on other things. So we'll kind of see with Ethereum. I'm not going to start a long bot necessarily on this, or well, I'll have to think about it. If I do start a long bot on it, I'll let you know. But we'll kind of have to see. I might start a long bot, but it might be with certain stop losses in place. If I do. Yeah, in any event. So Ethereum has seen some bullish movement here, but it to me looks like we're kind of getting ready to correct downwards afterwards, because we've filled in this area value gap, and we have been setting higher highs going up to here, and we'll have to see though, because it might push up to a new high level here, where we're just gonna have to kind of wait and see. I think with this one, was this the one? It was one of these gosh darn things. Yes, yes, I remember that. Okay, so I tried to just for fun, I guess, place a marker on where I thought the price action was going to go. And oh, well, didn't do too bad, I guess. I got down to, let's see, 100 $3,216. So I mean, it wasn't like dead on, and it was a little bit later than what I had sort of very closely approximated. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if you would wanted to set a start a long or something there and set it at like the high end of where I predicted, you might have been able to catch that, and that would have been a good long position. But well, anyway, these things are fun to mess with sometimes. Okay. I just have to go back and look at that video to see how I actually decided on that prediction. So right, yeah. So Ethereum has been showing some very bullish movement here. People getting excited. Some people are talking about doing longs on it, and that might be, possibly a good idea. But I've just kind of gotten used to cryptocurrencies having a pump leading up into news events, and then things sort of relaxing afterwards. And I'm just not seeing any of these guys breaking out of their holding patterns enough to necessarily get all that excited. But we'll have to see, though, because the market is going to do what it's going to do, and it can be a little bit tricky trying to predict sometimes. In any event, all right. So there's the Ethereum graph. Doge. I don't have much except for good news really when it comes to these bots. Honestly, Dogecoin seems to have broken out of its wedge pattern here. If this is indeed a wedge pattern, which looks like it is to me still on the daily time pattern time frame. Our liquidation value for our 8 times bot again is down here in like 1.27, 27 cents. And for our 5 times bot is down in like 18 cents. Not too terribly worried about it. And again, if the price action does push down towards the liquidation value here at 27 cents per Dogecoin, which I personally think Dogecoin is going to have a really good year coming up here in 2025, and so I expect it to do price exploration in more of an upwards direction, but it can be kind of hard to tell sometimes. But even if it does do price exploration and kind of meander down, our bot should be taking some profit as it goes down, and hopefully that'll push this liquidation value as it goes along. This also has not been updated since the last video, but I'm also not worried terribly about Dogecoin, the Dogecoin bots getting liquidated. So I'll be updating those liquidation values much more frequently and paying them a lot more attention if I get worried that the bots might get liquidated. Okay, so Bitcoin, Solana, we talked about Doge, we talked about XRP. So we need to talk about BNB. I believe all of these bots are in profit now. Yeah, every single bot I have is in profit now, which is lovely. Or except for, well, is Solana? Oh, yes, the Solana bot is in profit now. So the other one was ADA. This is the brother-sister coin, kind of, to Bitcoin. There's not a whole tremendous amount to say about this that I couldn't kind of haven't already said about Bitcoin. We may be seeing this kind of turning into more of a flag pattern instead of a possible wedge, as I had speculated here. But we're just gonna kind of have to see. You could argue that this is breaking out a little bit of this pattern here. but it also might just be setting a new high. Um, and preparing to range downwards a little bit. Not 100% sure. But in any event, but I think I want to say this is one of our 8 times bots that I had started with the grade going down a little bit lower and with a slightly higher leverage. Liquidation value is about 79 cents. If the price does push downwards, then we'll be taking profit all the way down as it goes. And so that should generate a little bit of margin, hopefully help with our liquidation values a bit. But I don't really see tremendous signs of weakness in Cardano at the moment. I do kind of think we're due for another correction down, or at least a correction to a maybe a higher low than this one. But we're just gonna have to see. Um, so if you were viewing this in the way that I had this set up before, with this being a lower high, and this sort of coming up to form sort of kind of wedge pattern, let's take that off, that it's trying to break out right now, but sometimes with price actions they'll try and then come down and break to the upside afterwards. So wouldn't get too terribly excited now. We'll be looking to see if it finds support right around this downwards trend line now. But in terms of our activity, this is still doing just fine. ADA hopefully will be earning us good money over the next coming year. We'll be trading it up to $4 per Cardano per ADA. It's currently at about $1 in price. And our bot will be doing this at 8 times leverage for us, hopefully, provided that the price doesn't come down and liquidate the bot. But we'll just have to kind of see what happens together. And then BNB we were going to talk about as well. Yes. Okay. So BNB and kind of a similar thing here. I've set, I think, up to $1,500 is our trading range for BNB. Our liquidation, this is a 5-time spot. BNB isn't kind of showing quite as much volatility as some of these other coins, which means that in order to get a good arbitrage profit, we would want to set tighter grids. You generally want to set tighter grids with less volatile assets in general. But also, it just seems to be doing rather well overall. It's not experiencing quite as much of the drawdown as we see with other coins. And so, if we can catch a good dip in BNB's price, I really do think that it might be worth my while to start a higher leverage bot on BNB if I can catch a good dip on this and let the bot work its way into a state like the kind of like the ape bot, where it's secured itself with its arbitrage profits against liquidation. But I'll have to try to catch a better dip than what we've been seeing lately. This wedge pattern still seems to be playing out. It's had a bit of a dip and then a bullish movement recently, along with Bitcoin. And then I speculate that we may see a downwards correction after this coming news event for BNB, but it probably won't be terribly dramatic, since BNB seems to sort of be showing strength and just sort of being a very robust currency in general. I have nothing but positive signs, things to say about BNB. I mean, it's you may not see the sort of returns that people will sort of talk about with cryptocurrency, where it's like, oh, it increased in value 10 times or something like that. But when it comes to long-term investing, and I really can't say this enough that the long-term, slower form of investing may not be as exciting, but that really is how you build wealth and how you build a portfolio in the real world. So a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about here um, is these are side projects. This is more of a hobby for me. Um, the more serious investments that I make are in spot, are not so much in leveraged positions. Not that I don't think that there may be some potential benefit to me and other members of our trade game club association sort of thing we're trying to start up here, but only time will tell, really. For now, this is more of a side project for me than anything. I still have my full time day job. Okay, so this is doing really well. Um, all right, well, that's I think all that I'm gonna say for this video because I was just kind of trying to do an overall market update and show you guys how our bots are doing and try to sort of demonstrate that these things work and um, uh, that this is a real, legitimate thing because it is. Um, all right. So, thank you for watching. Please do click the like button or tap it or click it or whatever. Please do like and subscribe. It does help to get attention for our channel and for our group in our community here. If you click the like button on videos, um, this is the Trade Game channel. I'm Daniel. God be with you. Please be good to one another, and I will talk to you later.